Here are the original interviews with Amalia Musa, the founder and CEO of the Make a Play Foundation, and a roundtable discussion with current Stanford student athletes. The interviewers are Karen, Mai, and Leanna Sun, high schoolers in the Stanford Daily Summer Journalism Workshop. These interviews have been lightly edited for clarity.
My name is Amalia Musa. I went to Morehouse College in Atlanta, Georgia. Was fortunate enough to play football. And so took me from where I'm originally from, which is New Jersey, to Atlanta. I loved my time there. No complaints.
How was the college process like? How was playing football in college?
Yeah, so oddly enough, I don't necessarily know if I loved playing at the time. But I always loved what it did for me and what it did for my family. I'm one of four siblings. And so football really provided an incredible opportunity for me to go to school with a scholarship. And it also just taught a lot of really valuable life lessons. And so even if I wasn't the player that loved the grind from, we got Mondays off, but right, Tuesday through Friday, I definitely got up for game day on Saturdays, and I definitely appreciated, even more now than I did then, all the valuable lessons I learned from playing college football.
What would you say is the most valuable lesson you've learned from football?
I think there's something to be said for, particularly in football, where right there's no perfect player, and there's so many nuances and variables that messing up is almost a part of being a really high functioning athlete. And I think really understanding that it's okay to get knocked down, right? But your response is really what determines what type of character you have. And so, having, navigated to this point, professional school, graduate school, and then work as a full-time employee, I think it's important to have that same mindset. Work is not going to go your way every day, but you can only control the attitude that you bring. And so my captain used to say, control your controllables. And so, I live by that, even, 10 years to the day that he actually said it. He said this when I was a freshman starting training camp at Morehouse, just control your controllables. That's what I'm trying to do.
So through all these experiences, where are you now?
So professionally, I'm an attorney that represents head coaches and front office executives. So what that looks like is your different directors of operations for your sports teams, your different head and assistant coaches, your different broadcasters. And then also, I'm the founder of the Make a Play Foundation. So looking forward to the day when this is my full-time responsibility.
When you started MAP, the Make a Play Foundation, was there anyone that helped you get it started? Did you have any mentors that helped you along the way?
Great question. So I'm a huge advocate for mentorship. If Make a Play stands for anything, we really leverage our, fall forward plan, which consists of career training, curriculum, and most importantly, coaching. And so professionally, I wouldn't be where I'm at without some really great mentors in my camp. First, I had an incredible mentor at Morehouse. His name was Ron Thomas. He's now he was at the time and still is the director of sports journalism at Morehouse. He really did an incredible job of introducing me to the field of sports journalism. He knew I was a player that had a lot of ambition, and so it was important for me during, my time at Morehouse to also develop some experiences outside of football. And so I was fortunate enough that I was able to, write for my college newspaper, intern for the Atlanta Hawks as a beat reporter, and then write for some other constituents out there in Atlanta. And so when I got to law school, a huge mentor of mine was actually the athletic director at the time, and he passed away last January. But he was hugely instrumental in just shaping my outlook as a professional. And so I tell my students all the time, it's difficult to be things that you can't see. And he was the first Black athletic director in the history of Vanderbilt's inception, and also the first Black athletic director in the entire SEC conference. So through his tutelage, I was really able to maneuver that athletic department at Vanderbilt. First, I was able to intern in the compliance office, and second, I was able to tutor in their student affairs or academic affairs office for student athletes. So I think through both of their mentorship, and also, I'm a twin. And so I have a twin sister who's just been hugely instrumental in giving Make a Play the structure that you see now. I knew I wanted to do something with professional development for underrepresented student athletes. But a year ago, I didn't really know what that looked like. And so I was fortunate enough that my sister had some pretty extensive background in the nonprofit sector. And so I've been fortunate enough to lean on her, expertise along the way. Great question, though. So Karen, mentorship is real. Look for, you're doing the right thing by just reaching out to different stakeholders, particularly in industries that you can see yourself or envision yourself entering.
Also, why did you start the Make a Play Foundation?
In my second year as a tutor, so when I was in law school at Vanderbilt, I also tutored in the athletic department, as I just mentioned. Around my second year, I realized that a lot of my students that I started out tutoring, as they were approaching graduation their senior years, a lot of them still hadn't figured out what they wanted to do. And for me, I really shouldered that responsibility because I know even when I was at Morehouse, I was the good grace of a lot of privilege. I had a brother who navigated the law school process before me. My father's a physician. He's a professional. And so I felt a responsibility to pay back all the incredible lessons that I've been taught. And really, help those students in a very macro way. And so at the beginning, it looked like, okay, let's start one professional development course let's do one professional development seminar at a school a semester. And really as it scaled and, as my vision just became, a little bit, broader, we figured that there was a really, unique opportunity here to, quite honestly, service a segment of the population that's often forgotten. Often forgotten about, excuse me. And so, typically when people think of Black athletes, they think of, the people in the NFL or NBA. And so for us, we're hyper aware of those statistics. Of the over 180,000 NCAA athletes, only 1.8% of them play professionally. And so at the same time, I literally worked with both as a teammate and as a mentor with some of the most talented young students in the country. Oftentimes, though, their strengths weren't celebrated by these traditional metrics. And so, for me, Make a Play represented this really unique opportunity to help those Black and brown student athletes that are generally ignored if they don't play professionally. And in the process, actually redefine what it means to be a professional athlete. Because I don't just think professional athletes are limited to the NBA or NFL. I think, professional athlete, it's a mindset.
What's the biggest impact story that you've heard from the Make a Play Foundation?
Just as a disclaimer, we're only 10 months in. So I started this last October. And so just really just the good fortune of a lot of really great people in my personal professional network that helped me really bring this to life. But I would say, every text that I get from a student saying that these modules that we went over, made me super comfortable in, this mock interview compared to the one we did before. I like to bring it full circle. When we had our first informational, one of my mentees at Vanderbilt, who was a freshman when I was tutoring him, fast forward 3 years, he's now a senior in our D League, and he spoke on behalf of our entire D League during our informational, and it was a very proud moment for me. So I would say my proudest moment to date was watching my mentee, who's now in our D League, Isaiah Rice, just get up there during our informational. Our informational, we had over 200 stakeholders, and really just elocute himself, articulate his passions, his reasons for wanting to join MAP, what MAP has given him so far. It was a very proud moment for me. And I anticipate having a lot of, other proud moments as we continue this thing.
And how do you envision the growth plan of MAP?
Yeah, sure. So growth is at the foundation of everything that we do. And so, figuring out ways to scale not only the D League, but also figuring out ways to scale our training camp, which is our professional development course that's available to all underrepresented student athletes with no GPA requirement. So I really believe that professional development should not be privileged. Everyone should know how to prepare for an interview. Everyone should have the tools and the resources to build a strong resume, and so on and so forth. And so, as we look to build and scale, we're looking, one, to identify more corporate partnerships, because a huge part of our model is connecting our students to full-length internships. A huge part of our model is also just more students. In this first year, we have 48 students in our D League, but over 120 applied. And so, we anticipate, and that was all through word of mouth. And so next year we anticipate, potentially 300, 400, 500 candidates applying. And so we want to be in a place where we can, successfully manage that number. And so 100%, I envision, Make a Play being the primary resource, or excuse me, the primary professional development resource for underrepresented student athletes in this country. And I don't think that is just limited to college. I think ultimately that's limited to, ultimately I think, that applies to high school students and, potentially professional athletes as well.
My name is Megan. I'm currently a sophomore at Stanford University. I'm planning on majoring in public policy with a minor in economics, and I'm a member of the track and field team. I'm a sprinter, and I'm loving it there. Some extracurriculars I'm involved in. I'm in Stanford Women in Politics and Stanford Women in Finance, and I really enjoy being an active member of the community.
All right. My name is Dorian Simon. I'm also a sophomore at Stanford University. I'm studying computer science with a path in artificial intelligence. I'm also on the track team, also a sprinter. And I guess a little bit about myself. I'm in 2 labs at Stanford. One, I work for the Stanford School of Medicine, working on building chatbots to help people cope with their stressors. The other is the Carta platform, which is essentially a platform to help students with course planning. And then I'm also a part of the Stanford Daily as well. I'm on the tech team.
I'll go next. Hi, I'm Yinka. I'm a rising junior, and I'm majoring in political science and communications, and likely minoring in economics. I'm on track and field, and I do long jump. And right now I'm interning with the University Office of Communications, doing data analytics.
I am Brew Smith. I use she, they pronouns. I am officially a sophomore at Stanford University. I'm also on the track and field team. I throw javelin. Some other stuff that I'm involved in. I am an officer for Cardinal Black, which is a new student organization for Black student athletes to kind of build a community. And I am also in Make a Play. Oh, and Voice in Sport.
And my name is Khalil Wilkes, a graduate of Stanford, class of 2013. Played football at Stanford from 2009 to 2013. Actually, 14 was my last season because I redshirted. I was a science, technology, and society major. Did not do anything in the science technology field after college. I actually went to law school at Villanova School of Law out in Philadelphia. And I actually just accepted a position with Stanford Compliance. So I should be working with you guys next year, which is going to be super exciting. And I'm a Make a Play D-League fellow. Working in college athletics already, previously at Villanova and at Temple, and at the NCAA last year. I wanted to look into opportunities for our young student athletes to be able to grow professionally. Being in their shoes once upon a time, I knew that there was so many obligations that sports obviously places on you. But the one thing that I didn't have, at least enough of, I felt leaving, was practical experience in the workplace. And I saw Make a Play Foundation as a perfect opportunity for me to give to the current student athletes, to help them out in a mentorship, networking, and also professional development way. And the leader that started Make a Play is a childhood friend of mine. So it just automatically just made sense for me to help him out and help out the student athletes that are part of it.
The founder, Mai Musa, he reached out to me on LinkedIn personally and told me about the program. And I looked at the website, kind of read over the D League. Looked like an amazing opportunity. I always am in support, and I always do appreciate programs that focus on helping students of color or students of minority groups try to get ahead, especially in very competitive industries. And then especially that he was targeting student athletes, it was also very attractive. Me personally being a student athlete, this really seemed like a really cool program. And I had to get some of my friends involved, as maybe Megan, Yinka, and Brielle might tell you.
Yeah, so Dorian was actually the one who told me about this program. He called me one night. He's like, listen, you got to get into this thing, man. You got to look into it. And I said, all right. And so, I mean, I'm someone who's pretty picky about like how I choose to spend my time, because I think it's pretty valuable. And I looked over the PowerPoint, and I really thought this was a valuable program for the reasons Dorian stated. And like, you know, in college, you kind of have to go out and seek pre-professional help. And I'm not saying it's impossible to do at Stanford, but when you're a student athlete and your time is pretty limited, I think that it's harder to do. So I really valued this program, and I valued the amount of people and the support network that this program provided, not just for this 10-month period, but for years to come.
Yeah, to build off of Meg's point, like Dorian just FaceTimed me one night, dropped 3 pointers. He was like, yep, it's going to help you with your resume, this, that, and the third. And it was like a 5-minute call. But kind of after further looking into it further, I was really excited to join the program, just like Megan was saying. It can be really difficult as a student athlete to really kind of like explore your options. And I just realized like I never really mentioned my major. That's because I have no idea what I'd like to go into. So that was another part for Make a Play that was huge for me, just to kind of build that network and make those connections and really have the space to kind of explore different career fields.
Yeah, so I also found out about Make a Play through Dorian, and I thought it was the perfect opportunity for me. I am interested in doing management consulting, which is a career where you can have all the skills, but if you don't present yourself the right way, you're not going to get the position. And I had been looking for a mentor, and Make a Play is special in that it pairs you with someone who looks like you. And as a person of color, like we have unique struggles that we face in the workplace and in society. And my mentor is a consultant at Deloitte, and she has already given me a lot of advice.
So I'm a mentor. I help out in their curriculum throughout the year, helping out with mock interviews. Wasn't able to interview any of you guys, unfortunately, but was able to interview a lot of the other D-League interns. Also helping them out in terms of looking over resumes, mentorship. I mean, my track was through the legal route, so anybody that's interested in going to law school, those are some of the interest and mentorship that I provide. We actually haven't been assigned any mentees or mentors. That's mainly been something that's kind of been off the cuff if you've had a connection with somebody that you interviewed or somebody that you might know to start that mentorship. But at the same time, I mean, I'm super open to helping out these student athletes. Obviously, I'm gonna be doing that in my role at compliance, but even from a mentorship standpoint, the whole reason why all of us that are in the board or part of this organization got into it was to have that one-on-one experience with these student athletes, because we were once in their shoes, and we understand that even with a great degree, if you don't have the practical experiences, that sometimes you can be at a disadvantage compared to a lot of your other classmates. So knowing that we have so many people that are already in so many different fields, whether it's consulting, whether it's law, whether it's a front office job, really a mall, knowing all those people and having those connections, we knew that we were going to be able to have a very large, vast group that was going to be able to help different student athletes that had a wide array of different interests.
I was assigned 2 mentors. One of them, Aaron, he is a attorney right now at a corporate law firm in New York, and he went to Harvard Law and Harvard Kennedy School for Public Policy. And my other mentor is Kara, and she's a management consultant. And I recently talked to Aaron, and I mean, when I talked to him all on the phone, like I told him my interests are in public policy and I ideally like want to go to law school. And he was like, I have the perfect guy for you, Aaron, like my dude, I'm going to set you up. And we've gone in contact, and we had a Zoom call, and we talked for like an hour and a half. And it was just so amazing to hear someone's experience, especially one that is like so tailored to like what I want to do. And he gave me like really like transparent advice as to like what I need to do. Like, do I need to do a master's program in public policy? Like, probably not, since I'm majoring in it. And like told me about his experience at Harvard Kennedy School and Harvard Law School, and talked about what corporate life is like, and just talked about law. Like, frankly, I really just have a huge passion for it, and we just talked about like the nuances of it and like how he's looking at different clerkships and stuff. And it's really nice to hear from someone who has been down that path and get advice from him. And he was great, and he was like, I'm going to be here not just for as I mentioned before, the 10 months, but like for years to come. And I think that's been really great, and that's something super unique, because especially since like our school year got cut short, I didn't really make as many friends with upperclassmen as like I wanted to. And I think having older people in your life who've been through stuff is important. So I've had a great time with my mentor.
My mentor is Ernest Holmes. He's a software engineer at Google right now. We chatted briefly, but it's definitely super great to be in contact with him, to have that connection to Google, because as you guys know, as I told you, I'm in computer science, so I'm looking to, of course, work at places like Google, and it's definitely nice to have a person who's worked in that role and will be able to help me with the code interview, or help me with some of the behavioral questions that they're going to be asking me, and also opens me up to other opportunities and other ways to network. Ernest Holmes also has a nonprofit foundation, Code House, where he is trying to expose high schoolers and college students to these competitive, challenging, and very profitable careers in computer science. And I definitely have been in contact with him, trying to get a part of that program myself as well. So it's definitely has been a way to connect with people doing great things, they're just focused on helping springboard your career.
I probably should have let Dorian go last, but I also have two mentors, like Megan said, because for me, I'm kind of split between a couple different fields, I guess. So both of my mentors kind of cover those two. Tori Orr, who is a design engineer, she's worked at like Tesla, and she's just been kind of in a bunch of different industries, I guess you could say, just designing different projects and just making impact. Really, that was one thing that we definitely talked about, which I think is amazing, because kind of like no matter what I wanted to do, I definitely want to work in design with things that are tangible and real. So that's been amazing, just kind of hearing from her and how she's worked her way up and like through her different fields and industries, and how she kind of like hopped from one and then went back to another. And my other mentor, Cleon Rice, he is working with like medical devices. And so it's just been really wonderful just talking to my two mentors who are making impacts daily. And it was really interesting to me specifically because both of mine are very young, and they're only like, 2 years into their fields, their respective positions. And that was one thing that really resonated with me, because I'm like, wow, they're already doing big, amazing things, and they're only like 24, 25. So it's been really inspiring and just amazing to kind of get in touch with people who look like you, that are into things that you might be into.
I was already working in college athletics, but a lot of the work that I was doing was more of the practical hands-on, helping out with legislation, helping out with certain proposals, and helping out with a lot of compliance issues that were happening on campuses, and even from a wider standpoint, from the NCAA standpoint, happening at conferences as well. And this opportunity was something that was great because it's totally outside of my day-to-day work. I don't make any money doing this, which is perfectly fine. It's all about the passion. It's all about me being able to talk to different student athletes and give back. And that's really how it's really changed for me, or at least has impacted me, in the sense that it showed me that I can still have a hand in these student athletes' lives, even outside of my day-to-day work, through the nonprofit realm.
I'm still pretty young, and I mean, we're all kind of young, so, but I think probably exactly what Khalil was just pointing out, like everybody that's a part of MAP is there because they want to be there. They're there for the passion. They like truly want to help student athletes like us and kind of just make a change in our lives. So I'm, without a doubt, I'm sure that like we'll all kind of just be better for it simply because of people like Khalil that are here because they are passionate about these things and that they want to be here. So, I mean, I don't know what the before and after is going to look like, but I know that it's going to be great.
For me, at least, I don't know. I've been pretty like set on what I want to do and pretty driven to like by any means get to where I want to be in life. But it's definitely inspired me more, as Dorian was talking about, to see people in these positions and like people who look like you, people with similar backgrounds, and know that, you know, this is very plausible. Like you can definitely do this and achieve this if you have the right skills and like you present yourself the right way. And so it's definitely made me more driven to like, you know, accomplish my professional goals while also, you know, enjoying college, of course. But yeah, it's been super inspiring.
Yeah, going off of what Megan just said, everybody in MAP is just so inspiring. Everyone's dedicated and motivated to do what they want to do. And it's so nice seeing that. At Stanford, everyone is definitely very driven and competitive. But again, it's nice to see people that look like us doing those things. I'm not exactly sure what before and after MAP is going to look like for me. I am interested in management consulting, and I really am hoping to get my foot in the door and get an internship, hopefully with the skills that I learn. But I'm sure either way, my experience with MAP will be very valuable.
For the D-League Fellowship, I believe you guys had modules focused on specific skill sets. Did any of them leave like really personal, everlasting impacts on you guys?
I mean, like kind of what I talked about before, like, I mean, the first week we did like behavioral interviews, and a lot of the questions were like, what would your teammates say about you? Or like, what do you bring to a team? And just questions, and are like, how do you handle pressure? And these are questions that make you really like sit down and like analyze yourself and like your experiences and kind of find the best way to communicate that to other people, so that they understand. And like this week we have like personal narrative assignments, and like they give us a list of 16 players who are like there's an out of the box person, or someone who likes to be the leader, or someone who, you know, it like is a very like socially like extroverted person. And they were like, what kind of player do you see yourself as? And so you kind of just have to sit down and like think about like what you bring to the table and like how you see yourself in the workplace and just in society. So yeah, pretty personal, and has got me thinking about a lot of things.
Yeah, I can agree with that. To piggyback off what Megan was saying, it does offer these modules a lot of personal reflection, especially the number one interview question, tell me about yourself. It's difficult to try to capture like how can I really capture my personality or who I am in like this 30 to 60 second answer. So it's definitely demanded a lot of personal reflection, kind of understanding what is my place, and how would I fit in certain different working environments, and maybe where do I see myself, and what working environment would probably be the best for me.
Yeah, I think Megan and Dorian so far have pretty much just hit it on the head. A lot of kind of like our first week and halfway through the second week, it just required a lot of kind of self-reflection and understanding who you are, what you bring to the table. So those kind of things I think definitely would be lasting.